Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to P&R Debate. Today we've got a good one for you. It's Young Earth, question mark. You're going to have Bilbro here with the affirmative and Godfathertime with the negative. We're going to have 2 minutes opening statements for each. Then we're going to have a 5-minute rebuttal for each, 15-minute cross-examination, 2-minute closing statement, and then a Q&A afterwards, including an audience poll. So make sure you guys stick around for that. So as the affirmative goes first, Bilbro, you're first up, and I will start your timer if you're ready on your first word.
Well, everybody, thank you for being here today for this lovely debate. What we're going to talk about today is the age of the Earth. Now, we've all grown up in high school and we've all learned from our textbooks that the Earth is billions of years old, but I would like to submit to you today that that is not true. In fact, it cannot be true, and I will present evidence to you today proving the otherwise. So, what I believe is going to happen tonight is there's going to be two battles here. One battle is going to be over the authority of God's word and the authority of man's word. This is going to be the contention here today. So, and we also have to lay the groundwork first. So when we refer to science, we have to understand that there are different realms of science. I understand that Godfathertime is a geologist, and he's going to bring up a lot of things about what he believes in examining the evidence to be. But unfortunately, this does not fall under the realm of observable science. Okay, observable science are things that we can test, repeat, and observe in the present. Now, what Godfathertime is going to do, he's going to look at the same evidence that I have, that we all have, and he's going to interpret it through his lens that does not leave in the word of God. And what I'm here to tell you today is that the earth is young, not on man's word, but on God's word. And God said that he created the earth in 6 literal days. And we can trust that it is in his word. And people were there. They recorded it down. They told it to us. Okay, we have everybody from Adam all the way to Jesus after the 6 literal days of creation. This is recorded. It is historical fact. And I'm going to present these evidences to you today. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Bilbo, for that opening statement. Godfather has the negative. You'll go second. I will start your 2-minute timer on your first word.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're today's entertainment. I'm Godfathertime, atheist, hobbyist, paleontologist, and server Saurian Daddy. I first want to start off by thanking the server, its staff, and moderators for allowing us to join in this event, and the audience for showing up to give kind of a kind of a want for certain things like this and supporting us today. And last but not least, I want to thank Bilbroswagginz for joining me in this conversation. We've come here to discuss the topic that Bilbo brought up has probably ruined many a good conversation: the age of the Earth. This is not a new or novel claim. For as long as we've had the written word, and likely for as long before that, from word of mouth, people have ruminated over where we all came from and how this all got here. And brothers and sisters, verily I say to you, the Earth is old indeed. And any claim to its youth or to the contrary is not supported by the preponderance of evidence. Today, I want to point out that where some of these tales and myths show up in our recorded human history that we have on both clay tablets and stone reliefs, as well as the assertions that people have made based on these tales and myths written down by ancient peoples long ago. And then also with the scientific endeavor has allowed us to glean from the world around us that tell us about the age of the Earth. And then also some modern perspectives from old Earth creationists that show that older young Earth is not necessarily a dogmatic thing on faith. It is just merely people being dogmatic on a subject that is once again not reported or not supported by the evidence. Once again, I want to thank you all for showing up, Bilbo, the audience, and the staff alike. And with that, I'll yield back the rest of my time.
All right. Thank you, Godfather. I appreciate it. Bilbo. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we have our 5-minute rebuttals. Bilbro, I will start your timer on your first word.
All right, thank you very much. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to look at some of the things that can prove that the Earth is not millions of years old. So the first thing I want to bring up is something called polystrate fossils. Now, if you guys can see my screen here, so this right here, actually, let me see if I can open it in, you know, whatever, let's just do it in Paint. So right here, we have a tree. Now, this tree is surrounded by sediment that is claimed to be millions of years old. Now, folks, I don't know about you, but I don't think that trees can burst through rocks that are millions of years old, okay? Organic trees cannot punch through sediment rock. What is happening here, this is evidence, these polystrate fossils are evidence of, let's see here, are evidence of the flood. And so Noah's flood is something that is described in the Bible, and this radically changes all of our perspectives of the age of the earth. Okay, atheists do not accept the flood, and so what we're seeing here with these trees is that they are buried under sediment rocks. Okay, I don't know about you, but this is impossible. How can a tree that is dated to be only thousands of years old be encased in sediment that is dated to be 45 million years old? Well, the answer to that is that the dating methods that are used are erroneous. The dating methods that they use, like carbon dating, rely on fallible measurement tools. Okay, the way that they use carbon dating is they observe a decay rate in the present, and they assume that that decay rate has always stayed the same. What I'm here to tell you today is that decay rate has changed. In fact, it has changed drastically, making the dating method skewed, and it would make everything much younger than it appears to be. So, with that being said, as you can see here, these are, everybody can look these up. They're called polystrate fossils. Okay, so this is going to be one of the things that we're talking about here today. Another thing we're going to be talking about today is living fossils. So these living fossils, these are fossils that have been found, and they have been dated to be millions of years old. Now, the fact that these fossils are living indicates that evolution is debunked. Okay, how can you have something that is supposedly 250 million years old, and it has never gone through any evolutionary process? The answer to that is that there was no evolution, and that these, although they were encased, so we have these horseshoe mud crabs, these are all animals, and I'll provide everybody the names of all of these living fossils that supposedly are millions upon millions of years old, and yet we still have them today, and they haven't changed a bit. So that right there debunks Darwin's evolution. Another thing we have here, we have dinosaurs that are buried. Okay, this whale right here is perfectly preserved. The only way that these fossils that we have that can be perfectly preserved is because they are buried rapidly in sediment layers. Okay, they're buried rapidly in sediment layers. See, here we have two dinosaurs. These dinosaurs are fighting together. How are they frozen in time like this? Well, it's because they were buried rapidly. Same thing right here. This fish is eating another fish. It was buried rapidly in a landslide. Okay. Another thing right here. What do we got here? Also, in ancient civilizations, we have depictions of dinosaurs. We have depictions of dinosaurs. This is in Bishop Bell's Cathedral thousands of years ago. These are depicting sauropod dinosaurs. What else do we got here? We have Carl Sagan. Everybody knows Carl Sagan, right? He is a famous astrologist. He wrote this book, Dragons of Eden. He is saying that dragons are in ancient cultures all throughout the world. Listen, people, I have evidence for days. I have 101 proofs that I'm going to put in the chat that everybody can look at that proves that the Earth cannot be millions of years old. I yield my time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bilbro. Godfather, your 5-minute rebuttal is next. I will start your timer on your first word.
Thank you, sir. Uh, One of the earliest creation stories that we have is the Enuma Elish. It comes to us from the second millennium BCE from the Sumerian traditions. It doesn't give us like a genealogy. It doesn't give us like an order of uh, days or months or years of how long it takes, but it talks about the bringing order to chaos. The Abzu, the sweet waters or fresh water, mixing with Tiamat, chaos, the bitter waters or salt water. And in their Congress come the gods and then the planet and then us. Another early creation story that we have written is the Genesis account, which most people are probably more familiar with than the other. This uh, there are certain texts of this that are not as old as people would like to think Genesis is, and Genesis kind of reaches back in the 8th to 9th century BCE. So a millennium later than the Enuma Elish, and it has similar accounts of creation from nothing, the primordial waters, chaos. It also has a flood story that mirrors the Enuma Elish. Um, and then based on these claims that people had over the years, people have made further assertions on their understandings from these gleanings. For once, there was a Jewish rabbi, Jose bin Halafta, in about 160 CE. He was a rabbi that was one of the two people mentioned in the Mishnah, so he was a kind of a thought of uh, rabbinical person. Him using the Septuagint alone um, dated the formation of the universe at 3,751 BCE, which would give us a current age of roughly 5,776 years old. First and second century Christian writers using the Septuagint and other holy documents that they deemed worthy at the time, Theophilus and Africanus, they dated the earth to being about 3,751 years old at the birth of Christ. Um, Christ is kind of a moving target because he was either born in 3 BCE or 6 CE. But it would give us a rough age of today of roughly 7,555 years old. Most notably, Bishop Ushar in the 1600s, using you know the Bible as he had it at the time and adding up the genealogies, asserted that Earth was formed on October 22nd, 4004 BCE. A special note: he worked at a observatory that his brother ran, and today the observatory is named after him. And if you go to the website and look up his observatory, they state in full print that though his understanding of the age of the Earth conflicts with our modern understanding of it, it does not denigrate the work and effort that he did in his life. Um, my next thing I want to talk about is what science. Science took a while before it said anything. And in 1896, French physicist Henri Becquerel discovered the natural decay of uranium. And in 1907, Yale professor and radiochemist B.B. Boltwood built the first chart of the geologic column using our understanding of radiometric decay. And though over time these things have been better fine tuned with better measurement qualities, better samples. The ages have gone left and right a bit over the years. What it did, it showed the first instance of where we were no longer dealing with hundreds of thousands. We were dealing with tens of thousands to millions of years to delineate an age. Um, in 2001, the oldest zircon was discovered in the Jack Hills of Australia in the Hadean outcropping, and using our understanding of radiometric decay, which 2001 is a distance from when we first discovered the natural radiometric decay back in 1896. We're able to date that zircon as well as the early foundations of the planet being set 4.4 billion years old. Lastly, there are modern old Earth creationists, like I said, that are not dogmatic to this young Earth model. Hugh Ross is a physicist and biochemist Fazeli Rana. Both work at a university. They teach old Earth models. I do not agree with all of their conclusions. For instance, Hugh Ross believes in progressive creation, wherein at different ages God creates new and more complex organisms. The fossil record does not show this to be the case. Um, and They do not. The other thing is that they do not denigrate the progress of science. They do not say that science cannot tell us this because the Bible tells us so, which I think is a more notable and respectable stance to say that this book was written for an age and for peoples, but that does not delineate that we have to adhere to it today. And with that, I rescind the rest of my time.
All right. Thank you, Godfather. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is your opening statements and rebuttals. Now we're going to go into 15 minutes each of cross-examination. Bilbro, since you went first, you're going to have the first 15 minutes.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask him questions. Is that what's going to go on right now?
Yeah, you're asking Godfather questions, he's answering
Okay.
your questions, and you can reclaim your time anytime you think he's going too long, and then he'll have the 15 minutes to do the same to you.
All right.
Okay?
Cool. Sounds good.
So, ready to start whenever you are.
Okay. So, Godfather time. How do you explain polystrate fossils according to your worldview?
There's many explanations. You would have to look at the different depositional environments. One of the things is the Earth being old. There were tree-like organisms that died a long time ago, were set in stone and mineralized, got dislodged, and then were set into like marine-like or pond-like deposits. If you look at that picture, it's a perfect representation. You can say individual layers that were built up over time slowly. Most of the time, it's marine deposits. You can see shells like oysters and clams intermix them, where they'd go out into like a tributary at the edge of a river. And then also, there's some trees that they'd be in a floodplain. They grow upright, and then it floods, bringing a built of silt and alluvium. And then there's just seasonal silt and alluvium that builds up around this tree. And at a certain times in Earth's history, there weren't organisms that were able to eat or decompose these plant-like organisms, so they were able to lay down. That's why there's coal in a lot of places, because there wasn't organisms that decompose them.
Okay. Okay. So the next question I have, interesting explanation for trees encased in rock that's millions of years old. So we have found soft tissue in dinosaur fossils. Now, please explain to me, how do soft dinosaur tissue survive 65 million years when lab tests show decay in thousands of years for soft tissue?
So that's an excellent question. Do you have fingernails?
Yes.
Fingernails are soft tissue. They are keratinous structures. We have fossilized feathers. We have fossilized fingernails. We have fossilized scales. We have mineralized red blood cells and blood vessels. Probably what you're alluding to is Dr. Mary Schweitzer, her find with the Tyrannosaurus rex femur. So what had happened was, when they discovered this T-Rex, in the process of moving it, they had to break it. And they got shards of this T-Rex femur. It appears that in the medullary bone, which is the internal structure of the bone, it was storing up calcium, meaning it was likely a female that was ready to either produce eggs, or it was making eggs before it died. And so you already had an extra layer of mineralization around blood vessels that are within the bones naturally. And so what happened was, they were allowed to mineralize over time. But what Dr. Mary Schweitzer did was, she applied a weak acid to the overall fragments of the T-Rex fossil. And when it did, it weakened the mineral walls of these structures, which allowed them to spring back in a spongy-like manner, but they were still mineralized, just weakened. Like, there are certain rocks and minerals you can bend naturally before they fracture or break along their line of cleavage. But in this case, like I said, you don't normally dissolve fossils in acid. Like, that's not a thing you want to do. But it was a case that Dr. Horner allowed her to do this, and we found that. Since then, we found more soft tissues in fossils, but it's explainable through the mineralization process. We even have fossilized brains due to like iron chain blocking.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, to my knowledge, red blood cells and soft tissue would not be able to last for millions of years old. So it's interesting that that you say that is possible according to that. Next question would be, why is ocean sediment only 100 meters thick if deposited over billions of years? Can you please give me an answer to why it's so thin if the ocean floor has been there for billions of years and sediment keeps getting
Well,
deposited?
number one, what allows for sedimentation is deposition. And so in open marine deserts, there's not a lot of deposition from the terrestrial areas like mouths of rivers, like I said, which dump
Yeah.
alluvium into those areas that allow for layers to build up. Also, you have the continental spreading, so you have new basaltic rock that is exposed, and at deep ocean environments, again, there's no deposition in these areas. Also, if where these areas do build up, you get like a salacious ooze, which is built up over millenniums from diatoms and planktons dying without being eaten or molting their shells, and that stuff going to the bottom without being consumed through the water column and then depositing there to form this fine layer. It's indicative of chert. Chert exists in two forms. There's organic and non-organic chert. Organic chert is the small diatom structures. The only way you'll know this is by breaking some chert and then looking under a microscope to see either crystalline structures or organismal structures, natural structures, whatever you want to say. But yeah, it's all about deposition.
Deposition. Okay.
Yeah.
Next question would be, how can bent rocks fold without breaking if hardened over eons? So we have these bent rocks in the Grand Canyon. I can actually share my screen. We can look at a couple of them. Just give me a second here. So if we see right here, this is in the Grand Canyon, and what we see these waves, right? And what I would say is that this indicates something happened rapidly, catastrophically, and then it freezes in time. But so my question to you is, according to a young Earth or a old Earth time frame, excuse me, how would these fold without breaking if hardened over eons?
Well, you can call me Barney Rubble because I can make it bedrock. Anyways, so plate tectonics is a slow process. Like it's like fingernail growth over years. And so what happens is time. So you have forces, and not all sedimentary rock or bedrock is the same. They don't all are deposited the same, and you have different consistencies. Uh, the basalt rock is denser and stronger than the continental crust. So when it hits that, it subducts underneath it, which then causes the continental crust to kind of pop like that. These things come over time, and friction is involved, which causes heat. Which, when under pressure and rock, or pressure and heat, rock metamorphoses or and becomes metamorphic rock. And so we get different waves. Like in the southern United States, down in Texas, the Appalachian Mountains used to be here back when plate tectonics forced what was different, desperate islands to slam together to form what we now know as North America in some shape or form, caused this giant orogenic event to happen where the Appalachian Mountains stretched down here. Those fault lines went extinct and dormant at a certain period of time, so there was no rejuvenation of these mountains, and the mountains have slowly eroded away to time, leaving behind wavy rock, the pack saddle schist, which is metamorphic rock, as the very roots of the mountain. And like I said, for sedimentary rock has water in it. It's a bit more malleable when pushed by the earth. If you're thinking about like the world's best bodybuilder, no, they're not going to be able to take two rocks and just smash them together. But the earth is not a bodybuilder. The earth uses the convection of the earth's mantle and the friction of molten, placistic rock to pull and jerk the continental crust around itself. So,
Okay, I like those answers. That's interesting. So my question to you would be: recorded history only goes back a few thousand years, about 5,000 years. That's the most. Other than that, it's prehistory. We also have the rate of our population growth fits a young Earth model. The fact that we have about 9 billion people on the planet today. If we just do some simple mathematics multiplication after the Noah's flood, we would get to this number today. So why is it that we've only had such a short period of recorded history, and that the rate of population matches also the rate of innovation? So according to an old Earth time scale, for millions upon millions of years, there was no recorded history. We were just playing around with sticks and stones all the way up until the past 4,000 or 5,000 years. So can you please explain to me how, according to your worldview, that lines up?
and when I took archaeology in college, I took this to my archaeology professor. Um, a rough dating is 13 to 15,000 years old. This is a record of history. Now, if you're asking why do we have written traditions that are only X, Y, and Z, it's because paper wasn't invented yet, right? Like the earliest language, like I said, the Enuma Elish is written on clay tablets, and there's an old tale about how the king was telling a slave to tell another king, "Go and tell him this stuff." And all this thing, he's like, "How am I going to remember it?" And he said, "Bring me a piece of clay." And he spoke into the clay and made the letters appear. And he took it to the king, and the king goes, he's reading it, and he's like, "What does it say?" And the servant said, "I don't know. It looks like nails to me." Because if you look like that cuneiform, it was nails just hammered sideways in clay to delineate their words and their speech. But if you look before that, there are the Chevaux caves in France that are like early hominids paintings of cave lions in France, where they show that both males and females were maneless. They show testicles on some of the lions and no testicles on the other ones, delineating a sexual dimorphism within the species, but showing that they were largely maneless, which is something that we didn't know in the fossil record. So if you're asking about written history, they have paper. If you're asking about recorded history, you just might need to look at other things because we've known about the earliest instance of fire was just found by one of the as an Israeli institute where they dated it to roughly 732,000 years
Right.
ago, where early hominids were cooking fish near a riverbank. Like that's recorded
Okay.
history, just not written.
Okay. So when you're coming up with these ages and these estimates of how long things took, what are the methods by which you're doing this?
Depends. Like if you have organic material and you're looking for information between 10 or 50,000 years ago, you go with carbon 14. If you want to go with some other ones, I wrote down some uh, a while back just to make sure I got my dates right. Like I mentioned, uranium to lead, uranium 238 decays to lead 206 at a rate of 4.5 billion years. Uranium 235 decays to lead 207 at a rate of 704 million
Okay.
years. Potassium argon is a rate of 1.25 billion
Yeah.
years. So I mean, like we have different methodologies for different things. They've
Okay.
even been able to employ lasers. They found that if you hit certain minerals with lasers, they bounce back a certain spectrum where they can glean information that they can be
Yeah.
indications
Well,
of different.
real quick, before my time is up, you did mention carbon 14, and I do want to mention that carbon 14 in coal, in oil, in fossil wood, in diamonds all suggests that the ages are thousands of years, not millions of years old. So how could it
Well,
be that the carbon 14 present in these substances is only dated for thousands when you're saying that these things have been around for millions?
that's a great question. One of the points is when you bring up diamonds, diamonds is kind of a trope. I'm not sure if you're aware, but you would not date diamonds with carbon 14. Carbon 14 is an organic carbon that once a living organism is breathing it in, eating things, they're consuming carbon 14, a natural occurring radioactive isotope version of carbon. Diamonds are made by carbon, sure, but a different type of carbon. Not all carbon is the same. Um, and in the off chance what we would normally say with diamonds, in that instance, it would be the wrong application of that tool and would likely just be contamination because, like I said, carbon 14 is naturally occurring. And we don't really have uh, if you give me an actual instance where this happened, we could look and parse to see if it's been
Yeah.
refuted directly. But likely, like I said, carbon 14 is organic in nature. As far as like coal and diamond or coal and those deposits, I mean, they're organic materials. Again, there's also those things coal gets eaten by bacteria.
Yeah.
Coal
I would
exposes
say
to
that we have witnessed diamonds, for instance, when individuals get cremated, that actually diamonds form as a result of it. So we see a lot of these rapid formation of a lot of these different things that we've been talking about. It doesn't take millions of years. In fact, I was going to bring up something in regards to the Ice Age accounts where World War II planes were buried in 250 meters of ice since World War II. And so a lot of these things, which it sounds like it takes a long time, but actually under catastrophic circumstances, these things can actually form rather quickly.
Got
Well,
about
sure, but not
1
not
minute
all
left.
ice. What's up?
I was just saying you guys got about 1 minute left.
I
Okay.
yield the rest of my time. If you maybe want to respond to that real quick, and then you can
I would just say once again, we talked about deposition in the beginning. Not all deposition is the same, so certain areas might get additional deposition based on precipitation. Also, ice isn't rock. Rock takes a lot longer to come down. Plus, I don't think diamonds were formed out of cremating people because diamonds take heat and pressure, and the heat is not like a fire. The heat is from the pressure itself. So it's about forcing, particles together. But yeah, that's what I got.
okay.
All
Thanks.
right. Thank you, Bilbro, for that, Godfather. Ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, make sure you guys stick around. There will be an audience poll at the end to figure out who's the audience has picked to win this thing. And also, there will be an after party at Panhandlers for after the debate. So make sure you guys show up for that too. Godfather, it is time for your 15-minute cross examining of Bilbro. I will start the timer on your first word.
Uh, Thank you, Random. Bill Bro, like in my opening, I had brought up earlier creation stories. Do you hold that your creation story is accurate because it's old, or just because it's the one you believe?
I believe the creation story is accurate because it lines up with the Holy Scriptures, which we would know to be as the Bible. And this has been recorded 40 different authors over thousands of years, 66 books, and they're all lining up. They're not contradicting in one point. Now, we had a man, his name was Jesus Christ. He
Okay,
lived
well,
among us.
I brought up how an early Jewish rabbi used the Septuagint to date the planet to being formed 3,751 BCE, and which would give us a current age of 5,776. Is he correct?
Is the rabbi correct? I'm
Is
not
the
sure I
rabbi
know
correct?
about this. I'm not sure I know about this rabbi. What age did he say it was?
5,776 old, 76 years old as of today. Is he correct?
Um, is he correct? Now, I don't know if he's correct. It sounds like he's in the ballpark, at least within a few hundred years. That would be what I would say.
Early Christian writers using the Septuagint and later uh, religious books that they felt were special dated it to being 5,530 years at the birth of Christ, which gives us a rough estimate of 7,555 years old. Are they
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Because
the
they're like
Septuagint
a
is
thousand years.
interesting, yeah, because
They're
there's one line lineage from I think it's from Ham, from his children and on, and Ham, according to the Masoretic text, he lives to be about 500 years, but he sees that his descendants through the Masoretic text. Now, I will say the
Well,
Greek Septuagint has a lot
I'm just
of,
saying, like,
yeah.
the people using these documents, one of them gives us an age of 5,776. One of us gives us a number of 7,555. And Bishop Ushar, which, do you think the Earth is 6,000 years old, or are you just like, it's just younger than a million? Where do you fall in to this?
Well, I would say for this debate, I don't want to argue necessarily on the specifics, but the topic of this debate is just young Earth. So if you were to use the Septuagint or the Masoretic, we would fall in between a 7,000 to 6,000 for the purposes of this debate. But yeah, according to the Holy Scriptures, it's the Earth is not millions of years old. It is within this below 10,000 year time frame, 100%.
And 100%. Okay, so you said that the people recorded this. Do you assert that Moses is the one who wrote the Septuagint? Do you accept that assertion? Um, that
The Septuagint, no. The
wrote the Torah, I mean, sorry. Yeah, I
Moses read
apologize.
the he wrote the Pentateuch, which is the
Yeah.
first five books of the Bible.
Okay. Okay. My bad. Yeah, I apologize. I misspoke. So
Sorry.
you think he wrote that? So in Genesis, where was it said that Moses with pad and pen was writing down the events that happened in Genesis? Or is this a thing that he disembodied experience? and then when he was a person, he wrote down as a firsthand experience. Um,
Yeah. Well, it says that all the scriptures, people were moved by the Holy Spirit. They sat down with a pen and paper, with pen and papyrus, whatever you want to
okay,
call it,
so they were
and the
moved.
Holy Spirit moved.
Hold on.
Yeah, yeah.
My time, right? So I'm questioning. So they were moved by the Holy Spirit, right? But they were not there at the time when these events happened. So like there was no one present that wrote the scriptures that heard the snake say anything to Eve, right?
Well, most of these may have been transferred down via oral tradition, but the fact remains that when God inspired
So
the people to write it, that they wrote it down accurately.
oh, but you know, it's like it's 100% accurately. Like, what is your methodology by which you understand its accuracy? Because you seem to think that carbon 14 that has been used and continues to be used is somehow a flawed tool. But what gives you the evidence that the Bible is 100% accuracy when we don't? When you go to be an oncologist, you don't go to the Pentateuch. When you go to be
Yeah.
a civil engineer, you don't go to Revelation, right? So people in fields don't go to the Bible for their uh, for their enterprise. They may go to it for a personal endeavor, but when you're in college for things, they don't go, okay, everyone pull out your Bibles, turn to Genesis, and we're going to learn about geology today, kids. It doesn't happen. So
Well,
like,
I will
what do you
say,
do that?
yeah, I will say that whenever we're going to learn about history, we don't necessarily go to scientists. We go to historians. We go to the people who had wrote things down and that they had passed them down to us. Um,
Well, surely,
yeah.
surely you don't read the Iliad or the Odyssey as factual history, right? It was written down, and people believed in those gods that did things at the Battle of Troy. But you don't think that because that was written down by ancient people that those events happened, right?
No, not for Homer the Iliad. I mean, I'm not even
Okay,
sure that
okay. So, so
that the
okay.
Iliad is claiming to be a nonfiction piece of work.
So there are texts that you're aware of that we wouldn't necessarily take on fact, and you. So we also see books that were in the Bible that were in the earliest compendiums, like the Sinai codices, where we had like the Book of Enoch, right, the Book of the Watchers, that was then considered heretical, but early church fathers cited it and wrote about it like it was gospel. Um, was that what application was that? Was that people looking at these things and saying, "Hey, we don't take this thing out with a skeptical or subjective view," or was it divine inspiration that it was always heretical, but they just were not privy to it until it was already compendium?
Well, as far as the Deuterocanon or the Apocrypha is concerned, it's always been considered in that section of books. That's why even the Catholics and the Orthodox today label it a Deuterocanon as the second canon. It's because they were highly controversial. Now, I will say none of the early church fathers included all of the Deuterocanon in their lists of what the books were. That being said, God has preserved his word through the means of the church. And that is something, maybe that's another debate for another
Yeah,
time. But
and I think
uh,
that's a
yeah,
claim because we surely, if you look at some of the books that or the parchments that have been found, they are shards and scraps. Other than like the Nag Hammadi library and the Dead Sea Scrolls, where we have like full compendiums and like camel leather bound books that have a date on the actual binding of when it was bound, so we know when some of those books were actually put together.
yeah.
Like there was a lot going around, but there was a group of people who thought that some of these were better than others along the way, and they ended up winning out. But I guess neither here nor there. Did you understand any of the questions you asked me? Because polystrate fossils, like it's not it's not it's not that difficult to comprehend. Like if there was a smart T-Rex that was a paleontologist, they could have seen stegosauruses eroding out of the hillside as fossils. There was that much time between those organisms. There was uh, less time between T-Rex and us than there was between T-Rex and Stegosaurus. I know you don't accept that, but do you understand that when the presence of time is there, these questions that you have are explainable with just natural processes. Like I wanted to point out, you pointed a nautilus. Here's an ancient nautilus These are extinct nautiluses. They don't exist anymore. There was another species of shelled cephalopod, ammonites. There are no ammonites today. All ammonites, ammonoids went extinct during the Cretaceous period. These were the big shelled squids that swam the ocean.
But we
Uh,
still do have some nautilus around,
yeah,
right?
yeah, but you don't have those nautiluses. You have their descendants. You have the offspring, the transitional forms of nautiluses. You have the nautilus you showed. You also have like the musky or it has like a mucus around it to prevent predation. And I think there's only two or three species of living nautiluses today. These species of
We
nautilus
have
don't exist anymore.
the coelacanths, the horseshoe crabs.
Coelacanth. The coelacanth, well, the coelacanth is another example of organisms that were in a place. There's the Indonesian coelacanth and the South African coelacanth, which were both just species that lived at a certain depth of the water, and they didn't have to compete with a lot of stuff, and they were able to survive through mass extinction events. It's not a big deal. Like we have bugs in the fossil record, like we have ants in the fossil record, but they're not the same ants we have today. Um, I mean, there's plenty of things we call living fossils. Tuataras are a lineage of ancient lineage of reptiles that are still around today, but they're not the same tuataras. They're not an ancient, infinitely old little lizard. They're cool little lizards, but they're not that cool little lizards. Um, you pointed out, you said dinosaurs, and you pointed out a whale. I thought it was kind of funny. I was like, that's not a dinosaur. That's a mammal. Non-avian
Well,
dinosaurs are
I was trying to
delineated
make
by
a different
having
point. I was trying
hollow
to make a
bones,
different point about that.
having a perforated acetabulum, and having three opening fenestra in their skull, showing their differentiation between mammals. Mammals have none of those attributes. Okay. Anyways, I digress. So yeah, if you pointed out a cataclysmic event wherein, like there is an organism, a Caudopteryx, this type of oviraptorid in China that in the fossil record was covered by ash, and ash is largely silica, and it was probably pretty hot, so it seared the organism. Did not allow predation because anything in the vicinity was dead. And then normally after volcanic eruptions happen, especially massive ones, they cause charged particles to go off in the atmosphere and could cause rain. And when ash gets hit by water, it turns into cement really quick. But this was recorded in the fossil record long before any Noetian flood claims. And so not all deposition is the same. Once again, we can have rapid deposition due to flood deposits. They're called turbidites. They're a layer of rock wherein there was a terrestrial flood that impacted a pond, lake, or marine environment,
Yeah.
and the layer is built up with gradations, but it gradiates out within the layer. It doesn't break the layer.
So
There's then another layer.
you do agree with catastrophic flooding, that we can have events where, that's what I was trying to bring up with the whale, is that it was buried rapidly, and that's why it was so perfectly
No,
preserved, because
what
otherwise it would
happens?
never have been perfectly preserved.
That's not true. That's not true at all. At different events, so there's the desert of the whales, or land of the whales over in Africa, when there was an area in Africa that was underneath the water, and these whales died in the water, and due to plate tectonics, they were pushed up on land, and then there was, like I said, in marine environments, there's not a lot of sedimentation, rapid sedimentation, so any layers that were added on after their death were easily eroded away and they were exposed to the surface. Um, so deposition and environmental uh, factors play a lot more into this than I think you're aware. Um, and yeah, if you go to Ashfall, Nebraska, is another great national monument where a volcanic eruption uh, blew up about 2 miles to the east of this area in Nebraska. Ash settled across it, killing and choking out everything that was there on the North American Serengeti. Mothers were next to their calves, or fathers were next to their young, and they all died in a single catastrophic event. It happens, but it doesn't happen everywhere, right? Like we don't have a sheet of volcanic ash that covers the entire planet where we're like, look, everything died all at once, because then life wouldn't be able to evolve. Because at mass extinction events, you lose biodiversity, organisms go extinct. Like we have no non-avian dinosaurs today. There are no extant descendants from these organisms. We have avian dinosaurs, which split off from non-avian dinosaurs during the Jurassic period and evolved alongside them. So you lose biodiversity, you don't gain it in mass extinction events. And we have records of mass extinction events, but it's not like um, everywhere all at once type of
Mhm.
thing. You have different conditions in different areas.
Mhm.
Um,
Interesting.
let's see. Uh, you pointed out like cultures, ancient cultures. Yeah, the Mayans. There were island tribes of Mayans who knew how to hunt sharks, and when the Spanish came over, they taught them how to hunt sharks. And where they were, their hills popped out megalodon teeth.
1 minute, guys.
Megalodon
1 minute.
Okay, Megalodon went extinct 3.2 million years ago, but they found their teeth. And 1,000 years before the British had their first Megalodon teeth, they depicted Megalodon as a shark. When the British got their hands on the first Megalodon teeth, they said it was a fossilized tongue because they didn't know. But the Mayans had it, and so they were able to depict it. Whether they knew if it was an extinct order of organism or a current one is neither here nor there. It's that they found fossils and they depicted an organism. We see this around the planet. There were fossils people found, footprints that people have found, and they thought them sacred. In South America, they found footprints of non-avian dinosaurs, and about 9,000 years ago, people found them, did some drawings around them, near them, and left. They found these things and they reacted in a way. So, yeah, I think mythologies can be based around true things like fossils, footprints, and all that. But that's
All
the end of
right.
my sentence.
And that is time. Thank you, gentlemen, for those very exciting cross examinations. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, again, don't forget there is going to be a poll afterwards that's going to help us determine, along with the judges' scores, on who won this one. So make sure you guys, after the closing arguments, head up to the debate poll channel so you guys can participate in that polling. At this point in time, we have 2-minute closing statements. Bilbro, you will be going first. And guys, remember the Panhandlers has the after party, so when we're done here, that's where we're all heading. So Bilbro, I will start your timer on your first word.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So as we could see, there's a lot of things that I feel have been left unanswered, and these are very hotly debated topics. I was only able to bring up a few of the examples of things. I have 101 other evidences of the Earth not being millions of years old, can prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I did bring up some of these today, including polystrate fossils, soft tissue and dinosaur, the folded rocks, all of these things, the dinosaur bones that are rapidly buried, all of these things that we can see. Also, erosion rates and paraconformities erased billions of years. We didn't get a chance to get into all that, but hopefully in another time we will be able to. In conclusion, though, the evidence primarily for the earth being young, I would say, is our holy scriptures. This is what was recorded down. It was given to us from God through people. They wrote these things down, and we have an account. We have 6 literal days of creation. God says that He created it. Day one, in the day one, there was an evening and there was a morning. Day two, evening and morning, so on and so forth. Exodus 20:11 mentions it again that we have the Sabbath day rest. We have a 7-day week. This is because God created everything in 6 literal days, and on the 7th day He rested. And so this is why we have a 7-day week throughout all cultures across the entire world, even today, is because of God's creation. I know it may sound like a fairy tale to some, but this is the truth. We are created beings. We are going to be held accountable to God for our decisions. And Jesus Christ did come in the flesh. He's the Son of God, and He came to die for the sins of the world. If you repent of your sins and put your faith and trust in Him, He will forgive you and grant you everlasting life. Thank you. I yield my time.
All right. Thank you, Bilbro. I forgot to mention before the closing statements, there's also going to be a Q&A for 15 minutes after. So on that, Godfather, you've got 2 minutes for your closing statement. I'll start whenever you start your first word.
Thank you, Randon. Once again, I want to thank all of you for coming here and joining us in this conversation. I hope I was able to present my case both effectively and well. I just want to thank Saturn for it being Saturday. If we're thanking gods for the week, and tomorrow I want to thank the sun for it being Sunday, and Monday for being the moon's day. But I digress. That's neither here nor there. Once again, thank you, Bilbro, for enjoying this. I am not moved. I the plate tectonics needed to form those wavy lines that you described. You did not have that force enough to move me today. And so I do not find it convincing. And I find that making it a dogmatic claim could further alienate people from a largely innocuous faith where they could have a meaningful experience, irrespective of their misunderstandings or understandings of carbon 14. With that, thank you all again, and I yield the rest of my time.
Okay. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will conclude our debate on the age of the Earth, young Earth. Again, the poll is open in the poll debate channel. Please, everybody go and vote. Every one of you. Help us decide who wins this one and who does not. Oh, it's not open yet? Okay. So it will be open here in a little bit. Apologize. In the meantime, we have 15 minutes of Q&A, so I will start bringing you up on stage. We will ask your question, and then we'll send you back down to the audience so the debaters can answer the question for you. First up, we'll have Mathematician. You've had your hand up the longest, so here we go.
Hello, thank you. My question is for Godfather. Do you know who Dr. Leonard Richard Wilson is?
Not off the top of my head. No.
He did a doctoral dissertation on the analysis of plant microfossils in 10 different bogs in Douglas County, Wisconsin.
Okay.
I was just wondering if you knew him, but no worries if you didn't.
No. My focus is non-avian dinosaurs, but I have an understanding of geology otherwise, but I don't have There's people out
Okay,
there.
well, thank you.
Like,
I
there's people
appreciate.
All right. Thank you, Mathematician. And next up will be Happy. Hello,
Yeah,
Happy.
thank you. So my question is going to be for Bilbro, and it's just on like radiometric dating. So radiometric dating is independently confirmed by like, ice cores and tree rings, and you have like the $147 trillion fossil fuel industry, of course, that relies on it to find resources with pretty extraordinary precision. So my question is, can you please cite like, do you have any sort of peer-reviewed scientific study or example, not like a blog post or a theological claim or anything like that, but like a scientific study that demonstrates that radiometric dating is so fundamentally flawed that it should be thrown out like entirely as a method for determining the age of the Earth?
Well, as far as using radiometric carbon dating to try to guess the age of the Earth, it relies fundamentally on the assumption that these rates of decay have been the same all throughout time past. And unfortunately, none of us were alive, none of your peer-reviewed scientists were alive for thousands of years to confirm that these rates have stayed the same. So we would have to take that upon faith. And if you want to rest your faith on carbon dating, by all means, go ahead. As far as your ice core evidence, I want to respond to that real quickly. I would say that layers can form multiple per year via storms, melt freeze. When we see this with World War II planes buried under 200 feet of ice in decades, it shows rapid accumulation. So that's one area that we see ice cores forming rapidly in real world time.
Right. I just want to say that we wouldn't use radiocarbon dating to determine the age of the Earth because the half-life is only like 5,000 years. But anyway, yeah, that was my question. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Happy. Next up is going to be Rapscuttle.
Hello. So this is also Bilbro. A quick question is what is your explanation for all of the evidence that does show that the Earth is old? Like why would God place evidence that makes the world seem so old, like the Oklo Natural Nuclear Reactor, that all indications are that it is over 2 billion years old? So we have like lots of this evidence. Why did God place so much evidence pointing at an old Earth if the Earth is young?
Oh, well, other people would say, why is there so much evidence that there's skinwalkers at the Skinwalker Ranch? Like, just because we think that the evidence is pointing to some conclusion doesn't mean that God is trying to trick us. It could be our own minds trying to trick us ourselves, or maybe even the devil is trying to trick us and get us to come to these conclusions. But to say, because maybe you don't know how to explain the Oklo reactor in any other way, doesn't make it true. We would have to be there to observe it, test it, repeat it over the whole lifespan of it. And we're just not able to do that. So unfortunately, we have to accept things by faith. And I'm pretty sure that you accept it by faith, that it's by millions of years old. So yeah, that's just kind of the where we're at as far as the Oklo reactor is concerned. And a lot of weird things happen. A lot of supernatural things happen. Creation is a supernatural event, and that can make things appear older than it really is, because when God created all things, He created in a fully formed, mature state.
All right. Does that answer your question, Rap Subtle?
I could follow up for a while, but I'll pass. Let
All right.
other people keep asking.
Thanks, Rep Scuttle. Thanks for asking the question.
All right. Next up is going to be Doxy. And ladies and gentlemen, it looks like the poll is finally up, so go make sure you guys vote for the winner. It is actually up now. Doxy doesn't seem to be coming up, so Grant, we'll let you come up next.
Thank you, Ray. Question is for Bilbro. Bilbro, what sort of evidence would you need to have to perhaps make you reconsider the truth of the Bible in this regard, or perhaps more relevantly, the truth of your interpretation, such that evolution would be true as far as you're concerned? What sort of evidence would you need to get there?
One of the evidences that I would need to see is I would need to see observable real-time evidence of macroevolution, which is a change of kinds. So from one whole category of an animal, say a monkey to a man in real time. If I went to a zoo and I saw an orangutan and then a few days later he became a talking man, that would make me believe in evolution. I don't think that there's anything really that can, because evolution's unfalsifiable, and all of these things in regards to what happened long, long ago. Unfortunately, unless we have a time machine, if we did have a time machine and we were able to go back, a time machine would do it. Other than a time machine, I don't think we can say for certain. So yeah, I would say that.
All right. Thank you, Grant. Next up, I'm going to try Doxy again. There you go. Go ahead and ask your question, Doxy.
Thank you for your patience, Random. My question is a GFT. So originally I was going to ask Bilbro about carbon dating, but somebody kind of covered the question already. So I'd like to throw it over to you and ask, what would you say to dispel this idea that there's these inconsistencies throughout carbon dating that scientists supposedly have no way to calibrate or predict against? I would love to hear your answer. Thank you.
That's a great question. I brought up earlier that they use other methodologies, like they found that lasers can help correspond with dates. Also, because of certain things, like there is natural forming argon, the argon 40 that potassium decays to. When they find samples where this is likely the case, they look to the ratio from argon 40 to argon 39. So there's other representatives within the sample that they can look at to delineate any sorts of potential contaminations or kind of glean any sort of information where we can disregard outliers. Plus, not one sample is what you're going to is gospel, right? Like you might date something, but then you can find another something somewhere else in a corresponding layer and get corresponding dates showing an accuracy to the method. So it's not like you date a rock layer in one corner of the planet, you find the same rock layer on another part of the planet. You're like, oh, it's the same age. They date those things.
All right. Thank you, Godfather. Next up is going to be Flash 84.
Hey, I got a question for both you guys. I wasn't here for the whole debate, so if I'm repeating something you've already covered, I apologize. My question is really simple. It's whether or not you believe that if a young Earth creation model is disproven, and in fact the Earth is old, does that necessarily disprove Christianity? Or could it be the case, for example, that the Big Bang model would actually be evidence pointing for a creator God? I'm just wondering what you guys think.
I could
You
answer
want to go
that.
first, Bill Rowe? You want me to?
Yeah, I can go first. I would say, as a Christian to a Christian, there's a lot of things, a lot of issues that we run into if you're going to say that the earth is millions of years old, if you're going to come to that conclusion, because most of our doctrines of the Bible and our faith in general come from the first 3 chapters of the Bible. So the whole reason why Jesus had to come and die for us is because we have sin, and the sin originates with Adam and Eve. Also, God created us male and female. He didn't create us dozens of genders. He didn't create us he created marriage in a specific way. All of these things come from the first 3 chapters of the Bible. So if you're to say millions of years, even evolution and stuff like that, then it starts to break down. But I do believe, anybody can be a Christian and still hold to this worldview. I don't think it's a salvific issue. I would just really challenge Christians to think deeper about these things, about the Word of God.
So I'll try to be succinct. I don't think if people, like I pointed out, Hugh Ross, Fazali Rana, were people, theists that believe in an old Earth or accept an old Earth. I don't agree with some of the other some of the things they accept, but it shows that faith is not measured by the age of the Earth. It's just that if you have a certain level of faith, that it might be easy to knock you over or step over that bar than for others. But no, I don't think old or young, it really means anything against religion. It's just what people find special. But yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for those answers. Next up is going to be the Letos. Are you there? You're still muted.
There we go. Sorry about that. My question's for Bilbo. Why do you think the plethora of methodologies in the mainstream conclude that the Earth is old or suggest that the Earth is old? Neolithic cave paintings, uranium thorium dating, archaeology. Why do you think the mainstream is concluding that the Earth is old? This is my question for Bilbo.
Well, I would say that all of us, we're all looking at the same evidence, young Earth and old Earth alike. But when we all go to that evidence, we all put on our glasses, which have a certain worldview. And so our worldview is going to dictate some of the outcomes, because these are our fundamental assumptions about reality. And if our fundamental assumption about reality is that the supernatural doesn't exist, is that God doesn't exist, then yes, it would be very reasonable to conclude, well, it had to take billions of years because there's no other way that all of this could come to be if there's no God. But when you put God into the equation, specifically into the radiometric equation or any other of these dating method equations, you're going to have a number that is much younger, because we know that God can do all things. This is the God that I serve. So I will say that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that, Bilbro. Just want to remind everybody that once we announce the winner and get done with the Q&A, the after party is going to be down in Panhandlers. So hope to see you all there. Random Cabbage, you're next up.
Oh, hello. My question is for Bilbo. If you could link like all 101 of your claims or find a screenshot so I could look through it later, that would be great.
Yeah, I've actually linked them a few separate times. I'll tag you in it so you can get the message. And what was his name? Random Cabbage? Is that it?
Yeah, that was Random Cabbage. Just to let you know, all in the audience, go vote. Make sure you vote for who the winner is. There's 70 people in here and only 40-ish people have voted so far, so go vote. Your vote actually counts in the calculations of who wins this, so go vote. So the next person up is going to be TK.
Hey, what's up? It's a question. I have a question for the Godfather guy. Do you think it's plausible that gold, the element, would have settled if the Earth was truly millions or billions of years old into further layers?
From my understanding of gold's deposition, like it comes from stellar development, like solar death spreads gold across the cosmos and it accretes amongst the rubble that form our planet. Uh, and, there's, I mean, it's in layers that are exposed. It cools. I mean, it's a metal. It's not really destroyed. It just kind of reheats and then, solidifies. I don't know what you want to get out of that. I mean, it's just a metal that we have on Earth.
Can I reiterate?
Yeah.
So, under the premise that the Earth is millions and billions of years old, hypothetically, if it was that old, shouldn't then the heaviest element of all sank through the layers into deeper layers?
Not
And then we
necessarily. Like I was telling, like Bilbro and I were talking about was depositional environments and sedimentation. Like, not all sediments are the same. Not all depositional environments are the same. And certain rock layers can consist of different minerals that could be more adverse to the heat of the mantle. Basalt is, basically igneous rock, super cooled really fast when it's exposed under the ocean. So crystals form rather rapidly. These are more, heat kilned against further additional heats. So, I mean, if you're looking for an exact explanation of gold, that I can't really say much or less that you'd find it in rock layers, just like you find pyrite.
All right. Thank you, Godfather, for that one. Luke, you're next up.
Hello, welcome. Welcome. Sorry. Thank you for the question and the time. My question is for random. So, no, not random. Godfather. Sorry.
I'm just
your,
a moderator,
name.
man. I'm
Yeah,
just a moderator.
yeah. You look good. You look good. So, Godfather. The question is the same one that was asked to the younger. What would prove you wrong? Basically, what do you need to observe so that you conclude that the Earth is 6,000 years old?
Certainly, evidence to the contrary, where we have rock layers where mammoths and like in North America alone, there was so much biodiversity over the millennia that we would find rock layers where mammoths and T-Rexes would be together, or T-Rexes and Stegosauruses. Like I said, they were separated by millions of years, where rabbits would be with Brontoscorpio, these big sea scorpions in the same rock layers. Any sort of evidence of global flooding that covers the entire planet, wiping out all plant life, wiping off all terrestrial sediments from the planet, leaving just a barren salt-ridden hellscape that nothing could take root for millennia until additional weathering covers over the salt deposits. But anyway, yeah, I mean, any number of things that could provide some evidence of that. Otherwise, I don't find it convincing at all.
All right. Thanks for that, Godfather. AC, you're next up.
Either thank you guys both for the debate. I really appreciated listening. I was definitely following along to both of you. This is a question for GFT. Now, GFT, I've asked you this question before, but I want you to tell me the name of that dinosaur with the ball on the end of its tail, please. With that was spiky ball, you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know, but like there's a couple of organisms that have spiky balls on their tail, like there's the ankylosaurus and there's a long neck sauropod. But if you're talking about a turtle spiky organism, it'd probably be the ankylosaurus.
Yeah, that's what it is. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the results. That is going to be our time for the Q&A. Sorry to those that I wasn't able to get to. We have results from the judges and the audience. So in the debate, Young Earth ? The judges were in favor of GFT 2-1. And the poll was in favor of GFT 75 to 25%. And that means, given a grand total of 101 points, GFT is the winner of the debate against Bilbo's 38 points. So congratulations to GFT. And
Congratulations, GFT. You did a good job. Give you props.
And thank you, Bilbro, for showing up. I appreciate the time you took for this.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
thank you.
Thanks for putting us on. It was fun.
I want to thank both of you gentlemen for keeping it polite, professional, and respectful. And audience members, I appreciate you guys participating in the voting and interacting in the side chat. And remember, this isn't the only debate HQ that we are going to do or have done. We try to get these on a regular basis. If you're part of the server and you want to be involved in it, you can always just hit up the debate tickets. So that way you can also be included in a debate. Other than that, want to remind you guys, we're all going to Panhandlers for the after party. So on that note, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, that will conclude today's debate. You guys have a great day.
Last one.